First, like to thank you all for being here. I really appreciate that. Want to special thanks out to our medical staff again. Sally Nogo and Dr. Covan have done a tremendous job keeping us safe, and helping us get ready to practice and be able to play every week. We had a solid performance on Saturday that all the state fans, I believe, can be proud of. We played complimentary football. Obviously, we limited the turnovers, controlled the line of scrimmage. These are things that we've been working on very hard, all season. It's still a process, every day. Process driven means, win or lose, you're working to be consistent. You watch the tape, make the corrections, control what we can control, improve in areas where we need improvement, and tune out the noise. We talk to our players about the voices inside our building have to be stronger than the voices outside, to be able to continue to stay focused on our process, and not get too high, not get too low, keep continuing to improve. The culture that we're building is about consistency in our behavior, our preparation habits, and overall trust in the process. This week is really about building on our win, building on the things that we did well, finding out more about who we are, what our identity is, and what it needs to be in terms of a football team and how we play. We need to be able to repeat the things that we did well, and keep improving in all phases: offense, defense, special teams. I appreciate you guys coming out today. I hope you and your family are staying safe. And with that, I'll open up for questions.
Thanks, Coach. We'll start with Chris Solar, the Detroit Free Press.
All right, Mel, good to see you. As a guy from Cleveland and having worked at Ohio State, what does this game mean to you? And how much, because this was a game that Mark obviously put a lot of emphasis on over the years. Was that bred in you by Saban? I mean, did Nick have that kind of view of the Ohio State game, having that path too?
Well, it's all the games are big, and then you have the rivalry games like Michigan State, and then games like Michigan State, Ohio State. I think at this point, everyone's has Ohio State, somewhat circled on their schedule because it's considered maybe the best team in the country. And so when you come to the Big Ten, you come to Michigan State, you come here because of the caliber of ball that you're going to be able to play, the competition, the teams, the Ohio States of the world that you're going to be competing against. And and I've never been in a football game that wasn't big. I've never been in a football game where you weren't expected to win, so at any level. So it's I think it's good that we're able to have a team like this that we get a chance to play. It's a great team, and we're putting a lot of emphasis on it, certainly.
As a coach who had been there and with Mark in that national championship year, I guess, how do you separate your feelings from having been there and driving that success to now competing against them and taking it the other route?
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm going to work any harder or anything like that, myself or as a staff. I mean, we're full tilt, no matter who we play. I'm from Ohio. I coached there for 4 years and won a national championship there with Jim Tressel. It was a great time. We won a lot of games. We had a really good run there, and I learned a lot as a coach. And we recruited a lot of good players and sent a lot of players to the NFL while I was there. So I know about Ohio State. I know about the football there. I know about how important it is. Also, started my career here at Michigan State, and I know about football here and the brand of football that we need to play and how important it is for us. And so, there's a lot of similarities in terms of the mentality. At this point, like right now, in terms of how we feel about, the opportunity to play games and the opportunity to play a team like Ohio State. It's important.
Our next question will go to Matt Wenzel with M Live.
Hey Mel, obviously you knew going into the season it was going to be there were going to be challenges, but you guys were in this position 2 weeks ago with the team coming off a game they couldn't play, and that's obviously the case now this week with Ohio State. How much does having gone through what you did 2 weeks ago help you right now?
Yeah, well, it's just we learn from our experiences, and we've kind of been down this road before, and you have to be able to adapt. We have to be able to stay focused. We have to block out the noise. Like I said, the voices inside our building from our coaching staff and our support staff have to be stronger than any of the voices outside or any of the noise about any type of hypotheticals or what ifs or the uncertainty. That's not where our focus is. Our focus is, we're preparing to play Ohio State. And we have a process for doing that, and we're laser focused in that way, and we're tightening the screws every way imaginable in every aspect of our program to continue, like I said, to move forward and continue to improve so that we can get some consistency. And so that's where our focus is. Today we got a bloody Tuesday and a bloody Wednesday planned, and we need to execute.
And the running game, obviously, we talked about that a lot on Saturday, the success you guys had. One, is Jordan Simmons a guy you expect to have back soon? Because we didn't see him in uniform on Saturday. And then two, when you look back at the film, is there anything that really stood out for you that you didn't see Saturday in the run game, whether it's the backs or the offensive line or anybody else that contributed to that?
Yeah, we have some guys that are banged up and sore, and they'll be ready. They'll be ready when they're ready. The run game, obviously is something that has improved. And there's, watching the tape, there's still more out there. There's still lots of room for improvement, in all phases in terms of our line play, the blocking with our tight ends and our receivers, and then also with hitting the hole with our backs. Running with authority, running behind their pads, and making sure that we're getting in and out of the right plays up front with Rock running the show and the communication. So, there's still a lot of room for improvement there. But I feel like we're moving in the right direction in terms of being able to run the ball and then also stop the run. You can't beat good teams, and you can't be consistent in your performance if you can't control the line of scrimmage.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
Our next question will go to Matt Charbonneau with the Detroit News.
Hey, Mel, I know the approach every week, regardless of opponent, you try and have it the same and the same level. But when you are playing teams like Ohio State this week, Northwestern was a top 10 team last week. Does it help that focus at all when you know that opponent coming in is playing at such a high level, even though you want it to be the same every week? Does it kind of just inherently get a little bit better each week when you're playing a team like this?
Well, every week we try to take it up a notch, in terms of our preparation. We may manage our loads differently in terms of our workloads with our analytics and our exercise scientists and things like that. But in terms of our preparation and our intensity and our focus and what we do, we're always trying to take it up a notch. Just trying to continue to raise the bar, and work towards that standard, and so. But if you're asking me that, do you get more intense or more excited, or is there more focus when you're playing, a top 5 team or a top team in the nation? One of those things. I've been in that position as a coach several times, and you do see that. When you have coaches and players that are competitors, obviously, when you're playing, really good matchup, obviously, there's just a competition factor, that kind of, comes into play in terms of intrinsic motivation and, one to put your best foot forward. But, and that's really, you can't really focus on that end result. It's this journey, this process throughout the week, okay, where we have to be focused on that relentlessly. Okay, that is what will get us to a point, okay, where we can be ready to go out there and compete on Saturday. Big game. They get bigger. I've never been in a game that wasn't big. I can be honest with you on that. Even street ball games. You said we're going to play our street versus your street. At that point in time in your life, that was the most important thing in the world, and you wanted to win. You don't want to get embarrassed. You hope you didn't get hurt.
I want to ask you real quick too. I mean, I know Matt Coughlin won it was a special teams player of the week, but some of your other special teams, the punting, some of the coverage units, are you concerned with where those groups are right now? Seen a few breakdowns in those units the last couple games.
Yeah, we need to improve there, and we've all our coverage units and our special teams. We've been constantly trying to figure out ways to improve there, whether it's scheme wise or we've been shuffling personnel, but certainly to play complementary football, we need to be we need to be flawless on special teams, and field position is something that we talk about quite a bit. And the most important play in football is punt, and you're talking about a huge amount of field position right there. So, obviously we've got to do a good job on our coverage units. We've got a ways to go on our kickoff team, have some chance to make some plays and then make them. And then, we got to punt the ball better, whether it's directional punting or hang time or whatever. And we got to get better at that. And we're working really hard on that. It's not necessarily a concern. It's just the fact that if we don't get any better, then how are we going to beat good teams consistently if we can't get any better in these phases.
Next question will go to Brandon Green with ABC 12 in Flint.
Hey, good morning, Coach. Just wanted to ask you talk about the team's identity and saying that you guys have to play to your identity. What do you want the team identity to be right now? Do you want to be a strong running game team with a good defense?
Yeah, well, we want to be strong all the way around. We want to have a relentless football team that plays the game the way the game is meant to be played, where you can win in the trenches on the offense and defensive line and control the line of scrimmage and be able to run the ball on your terms and be able to stop the run on defense and make folks one-dimensional. You have to have a physical football team. The name of the game is hit. This is a collegiate sport. We're in the Big Ten. If you don't have a physical football team, you're not going to be able to get much done. We want to have a smart football team, a team that doesn't beat itself, a team that doesn't have 100 yards of penalties per game, a team that takes care of the football and has respect for the ball. That's the type of team that we want to have, a team that's best conditioned. They can start fast and finish strong in the fourth quarter. A team that doesn't flinch, plays together, that's unselfish, and is a team that wants to be relevant, wants to be in the conversation, not just here just to participate, but actually get something done. And the way we play and our behavior should reflect that. You should look on the field and say that team cares, that team loves football, and that team is doing everything they possibly can to win the game. And they're playing a physical brand of football that you can look out there and say, that's what Michigan State football is supposed to be. If you can't look out there and say that, then we're not playing to our identity. And like I said, we're a work in progress. We got a ways to go.
Thanks, Coach.
Our next question is from Jared Ramsey with Impact Sports.
Hello, Coach. On Saturday, you guys were able to completely shut down Northwestern's running game, held them to 63 yards. What did you see from the front seven that led to that success? And do you think you can duplicate it going forward?
Yeah, like I said, we're looking for consistency in performance. We're only as good as our next play. We're only as good as our next practice. And so in our front, when you play with good technique and good pad level, and you come off the ball and you see a little, so you can see a lot, and you strike guys and you look to knock people back and use your hands, and then finish on the football and win your one-on-one, win your box, and the guys know where they're supposed to be. They do their job first, and maybe they can help out. Everyone knows where they're supposed to be. Everybody do your job, and you play with enough toughness, you got a chance to stop some people, and that's what we're getting at. We're getting to that. We still have some things that we need to improve upon. There was a couple of plays in there that hit that we just didn't control our gap like we needed to, and we were more than capable of doing that. But I mean, it's just we need to be able to set the edge and build a wall in the run game. If you can't stop the run, okay, you can only go so far, because you need to be able to take away the run game and force people to feel like they have to throw the ball to beat you. But if they can do both, it's going to be a long day. You might as well just start the bus.
Following up on that, can you speak to the performance that Naquan Jones had on Saturday and what you saw in film when you look back on it?
Yeah, Naquan, he's got some juice. He's a big guy. He was active in there. Thought he played with better technique. Thought he had real good focus. And, I thought when he was in there, I thought he gave really good effort. And so that's what you want inside. You want an active guy in there that's tough to block in the run game, and then can get some pocket push and really be a pocket collapser, in the pass game. And so that was, he made some. I think he's getting better and we need that. It matters who's out there playing for you. The actual players, it actually matters who's playing. And then if you have players that can play good, can play well, then those players need to play well. Good players got to play good. If you want to have consistency in performance, you want to have success, guys that can make plays need to make them. And so that's what we're working towards, to be able to make the plays that we're supposed to make based upon the guys we have.
Next question will go to Patrick Murphy with 24/7 Sports at Ohio State.
Hey, Coach. Assuming this game gets played this weekend, it'll be the first time in Ohio State's history they've had a black head coach, with Larry Johnson stepping in. Obviously, you're familiar with the history of Ohio State, so I'm curious what that means to you. And in the Big Ten, I know I saw somewhere that this hasn't happened very often. What does that mean to you as a black head coach to see that for this team and for this conference?
I mean, it's good to see. I mean, everybody knows that Coach Johnson is one of the best in the business, and obviously that shows that they have a tremendous amount of respect and confidence in his ability to not teach, motivate, and develop players and recruit, but also lead. Lead a staff, lead a team, lead an organization. And so, I like, I think that's a good thing. I think it's good to see. And obviously, everyone knows his reputation in the business. He's more than capable of doing all of those things.
Our next question will go to John Niall, the Detroit News.
Hey, Mel, off topic a little bit, but wondered if you've had a chance to talk or text with your old teammate Darrell Bevel since the weekend, and maybe how excited you are for him to get that opportunity as an NFL head coach, whether it's an option here or elsewhere.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Bev yet, but I'm going to write that down because I need to call my guy. Yeah, I've known Bev for a long time. I remember when he came to Wisconsin, he was coming off his Mormon mission. And I think Brad Childress was our OC, and I think Brad had coached him before he went on his mission, like in Northern Arizona or something like that. So when he comes in, he hadn't worked out. He hadn't done anything for like 2 years. He hadn't picked up a football in 2 years. They were like, who is this guy? Where did this guy come from? And that's how you know he's leading us to the Rose Bowl a couple of years later, man. So I've known him a long time, man. He's a great guy, and he loves coaching.
Any advice for him? You've been through what he's about to go through here now in the interim role, and I guess what would what would the advice be for somebody in that spot?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if I have any advice to give him. You know, every situation is different. You know, I'm just wishing he and his team, you know, the best. You know, and it's really you know, for me, uh, having done, I think this is my 24th year coaching. You know, I know a lot of those guys. You know, like I know Matt. You know, I know Bev. I know a lot of those guys on those staffs, and on those in the college and pro. So when the carousel starts to move and you see things start to happen, you know, it sometimes it's a bittersweet type of deal too, because you know all the guys involved. You know, like I coach for Romeo Crennel,
Right.
so I'm pulling for him hard. You know, but at the same time, he's taking the place of somebody else that you know, that type of deal. So it's you know, you're just pulling for guys to put their best foot forward, right? And hopefully to have some success. You know, we're all trying to win games.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Next question is from Stephen Brooks with 24/7 Sports.
Hey, Mel. Hope you're doing well. I wanted to ask you, whether spoken or unspoken, you know, how much do you look at Ohio State as a measuring stick as you try to build this program? I mean, I think you alluded to it earlier. They're sort of the premier team in the conference right now, or have been recently. Is that a thing where, you know, in recruiting and practice, you know, you're making decisions saying, can this beat Ohio State, or will this guy help us beat Ohio State? And, you know, does it go that far, I guess, or how much do you really just sort of view them as a measuring stick again as you try to build this program where you want it to be?
I mean, it absolutely goes that far. You know, it has to go that far. It's not just, you know, because, you know, you have to be able to win your league. You know, so when you're in the NFL or college, you know who's in your division, who you have to build your team to be able to beat those teams. You know, it happens in all different types of sports. I mean, if you know who you're going to be playing against, and you know who you got to beat, then you got to build your team to compete and beat those teams. You know, and when you look at the top teams in the country, you know, in the past few years, you know, whether when I was at Alabama or if I was at Georgia, you know, you're playing against Oklahoma, you're playing against these teams, you know, the Alabamas, and you're one of those teams, and so you know what those teams look like. You know what they're going to look like. So regardless of who shows up in the CFP, whatever teams are there, those teams are going to look a certain way. They're going to be big. They're going to be fast. You know, they're going to have dominant defensive linemen. They're going to have a big offensive line. They're going to have speed at the skill positions. You know, they're also going to have a winning quarterback. Okay, and then they're going to have linebackers that are long and can run. They're going to have edge pass rushers, and they're going to have long DBs that can hunt the ball. And on special teams, they're going to have really good specialists, and they're going to have very strong special teams with big bodies that can run. Some of them are stars, but some guys are going to be backups. And you know what those teams are going to look like physically, and you know at the level of coaching that they're going to be at. So you better recruit to that level, and you better ask those questions. Can we beat this team with a player like this? And if the answer is no, then you're still acquiring those players, then how are you ever going to get to that level to have a ability to compete? Because it's not like you can just sprinkle dust on guys. I mean, good players make you a good coach. Great players make you a great coach. I mean, you can coach guys up, and that's what you got to develop the guys you have. But at the same time, you know, it does matter who's out there playing, and that's why recruiting is so critical. It's very critical.
And going off that, I guess, a little bit, do you expect this game to be, win or lose at the end of it? Do you think you'll look back and use this as a big data point to show how far you guys want to be in that annual conference contender, or will it just be similar to the previous 5, I guess, in terms of it's all just one data point in our evaluation?
No, well, we'll just have to see how that goes. I mean, that's right now we're just focused on our day-to-day preparation and what it takes to get our guys ready for the weekend. I don't, I don't believe in self-imposed limitations. So what can or can't get done. I'm not putting any limitations on that. And then you go into a game and you come out of a game, and depending on how that game goes or what you saw, then you have to put it into some type of context, but you don't really totally know that until after the game has been played.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Our next question, we'll try to get to everybody once here before we wrap up. We'll go to Rico Cooney with Spartan Magazine.
You're on mute, Rico.
Good afternoon, Coach. Hey, when you look at this Ohio State team, obviously, each year Ohio State has great teams, but when you were looking at this team, was there something that you saw on film that really caught your eye, or was it just kind of, this is Ohio State?
No, I mean, every team you play, you look, and every team's got good players, right, on either side of the ball on special teams, and we do scouting reports on the players, and we give them grades, and so everyone has good teams. Just when you look at a team like Ohio State, they actually have more good players. They have multiple good players on each side of the ball. Maybe not just two or three. They're looking at 5, 6, 7 guys. That's the difference. And so you don't necessarily look out at a particular position group or a particular position and say, hey, they're not very strong here, or they don't have they have some players here that are probably not up to par that we can really, really take advantage of. You don't really just look at that team and see a whole lot of that. That's because they've recruited well, over the years, and they have a lot of players that are going to be playing on Sunday.
As a quick follow-up to that, Coach, do you think with them not having Ryan Day on the sidelines, do you think that makes a big deal? I mean, Nick Saban wasn't on the sideline for the Iron Bowl, but do you think that makes a big deal when the head coach can't be on the sideline, or just something like that in this modern day age doesn't really matter?
I don't know. It just depends on the team. It depends on the team. It depends on the staff. I think it depends a lot on what that head coach's game day responsibilities were or usually are, and what his involvement has been, during the week. And what and how much of that involvement is still able to take place. I think every situation is different, and then how involved the head coach is with the players and the individual team, and how and if the relationships and how he connects with the players and everyone else. If someone's present or they're absent, how much does that affect the dynamic of the team? Individual players or one side of the ball or the staff, you just don't know. Every team's different. I'm not expecting to see them, operating like at a disadvantage or anything less than what they're capable of playing because of anything like that. I'm expecting them to be, at their best and, playing their best football that they played this season. I mean, they got good staff over there, great staff, and they got great players. So I would imagine that they're going to be probably a better version of what we've seen on film.
Thank you.
We have time for a couple more for Coach. We'll go to Audrey Dahlgren with WLNS.
Hi, Mel. Kind of going off of that a little bit. This is going to be a pretty big game for your secondary. So based upon the number of deep shots that Ohio State likes to take down the field, what do you want to see out of them this week in improvement wise, maybe from Shakur, or how do you hope that they also relish in this opportunity to go up against a team like Ohio State in that aspect?
Yeah, well, it's going to come down in the back end, to have respect for the deep part of the field, make sure we're all on the same page, great communication, great technique and fundamentals, and great eye discipline. And we have to do a really good job on the perimeter on block destruction and tackling. There's going to be a lot of pressure on those guys to do a great job in zone and man coverage, and also, support, in the run game and be high percentage tacklers. And they're going to be tested, and so that's an awesome challenge for them. We got to have a great week of preparation, and our rush and our coverage has to work together. That's very important. We have to be able to have a coordinated pass rush, limit the scramble opportunities for the quarterback, try to contain him where we can. It's almost impossible to do that, but you got to put together a plan to try to do that. Okay. And we got to be able to make plays on the ball, and we got to be able to get pressure on the quarterback so that we give our guys a chance to cover them. So it's a double-edged sword. And so, we got to figure out a way to get it done, scheme wise and, technique and fundamentals. But I'm sure our guys will be up to the challenge. I'll be interested to see what they had to say about it.
Thank you.
Our next question will go to Lindsey Huddleston.
Thank you. Hey, Mel. Earlier you talked about the right player. Can you share in your experience what are some of the characteristics of the right player, especially when you have players that go up against an undefeated team that has some type of conference or title type contention? What are some of those characteristics of guys who can go up and deliver the upset for you?
You're talking about the type of player that's like the can win for you, or the type of player that we're looking for in our program? And
How are you looking for in your program in particular?
Yeah, first and foremost, like I said, the first day I got here, if you love football, I'm probably gonna like you a lot, and that's very important, because football is not the easiest thing to prepare, to practice. It's not always fun, and it's a tough game, and injuries are part of the game. There's a lot of pain and pressure involved day in and day out, and it's very competitive, and it's physical. So, you want guys who love the game, that love practice, that see value in practice, in strength conditioning, in nutrition. You shouldn't have to, that they're going to take advantage of the resources that we have. You shouldn't have to talk a guy into eating or resting or practicing hard or wanting to be out there. So first of all, you got to love the game. And then, second of all, outside of obviously academically, you need to be able to get a degree here and compete at a high level in the classroom. But, you have to be mentally tough. The mental aspect of the game is very important. You need to be able to, understand that, you're going to have to compete on the day in and day out basis. You're going to have to be able to handle harsh criticism, harsh constructive criticism. You're going to have to embrace, a culture of accountability, and wanting to be held accountable, and understand, that's part of a program where everybody's roles are clear and defined, and there is no gray, and it takes what it takes, and embrace that and want that, because that's a winning formula. We're looking for players like that, and we're looking for guys obviously who they want to be here at Michigan State. We want players that are playing here now that it's important to them that they play, that they're here. It's not that it's not so much that they're coming here for necessarily what we can do for them. You know, they actually want to come here and play for the school, you know, and want to leave a legacy. And it's important when they put that helmet on. It's important when they go into the locker room. It's important when they go into that stadium, you know, for a home game. You know, you want guys that want to understand, hey, this is what Spartan football is. I want to play this type of football for these types of coaches in this type of environment. You know, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. You want guys, you know, like that. Then obviously you want guys that you know, athletically, and from a skill set standpoint, and you know, physically, you know, from a stature and length and size, you want guys that can match up with, and win the one-on-ones, you know, against the very best players in the country. You want that because at some point, you know, if in fact our goal is to win a national championship and build a championship team that's relevant each and every year in that conversation, which is the goal, then in order to reach that goal, you have to have players that can win those one-on-one matchups against the very best players in the country, because that's what those teams have that are in that Final Four. That's what those teams have that are winning these leagues. They have lots of NFL players on their rosters. And you can see it on draft day.
Got it. That's really helpful, Coach. Thanks and good luck on Saturday.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Our last question for Coach Tucker will go to Jim Comparoni with Spartan Magazine.
Hey, Mel, you've mentioned that Chris Kapilovic is one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. What is special about him as a coach? What makes him in that category, in your opinion?
Yeah, you know, Chris and Jay Johnson have worked together. I think it's their third or fourth spot working together. And I think that really helps. I think it really helps them both, because you get open and honest communication. You get guys working together. Both guys understand the run game. Both other guys understand pass protections and what needs to be done and how to get the most out of what you can do. So that combination of guys working together, I think is pretty special, and it's hard to find that. With Cap in particular, he's Cap, first of all, cares tremendously about his players, and they know that, which allows him to coach them extremely hard. And he is relentless on the details. He does not let anything slide ever. Okay, and it's either good enough or it's not good enough. It's not just that was a decent job, or you know, that was pretty good. No, it's either good enough or it's not good enough. And he, in the times I've seen him in Colorado, when I was working with him, and the times I've been with him here, I've never seen him waste a second with a group of players. The minute they step in the meeting room, it's on. He's coaching. They're taking notes, every little detail. And the minute they step on the field, they're working. Any special teams time, when the offense line's not involved, they are working. I'm talking about like scripted out work, you know, nothing impromptu. It's it's laid out that they're working, and then even after practice, when he calls them up, he's still coaching them hard. Then as he calls them up, and then when they break, then they sprint off the field. And then there's some guys in there that go and get extra work on their own, working on their pass sets or their snaps or whatever. So, you know, they understand, you know, this is how we're going to work, and you know, we're not going to settle for average. You got to raise to this level. He does an outstanding job, and he preaches toughness.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. We do have one more quick question from Chris Slar of the Detroit Free Press before we get Coach Kapilovic on. Chris?
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Mel. I guess last time you guys had the cancellation with Maryland, it was right around the time that the presidents changed some things. Can you kind of explain to us what the cancellation policy is now in the Big Ten in terms of potentials for rescheduling, and how long would it take you to maybe, if you have to shift gears to prepare for someone else, how long would that take?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chris, and I'd rather not get into the weeds with that, just for the sake of time. And it's it's a very fluid deal. What I can say is that we are focused on preparing for Ohio State, and that's because that's what we can control, and we don't have any information that would tell us not to do that. And so that's where my focus is, and that's where it's got to stay. That's where our focus has got to stay. Got to stay, no matter what. And so I really don't even want to. I really rather not even get into that, because that's not where we are.
Less from the maybe the logistical standpoint, but more from the rule. I mean, that's kind of, we haven't really had any explanation from the league about that potential. That, I mean, has the league said, and the presidents, yes, if something does happen, you can reschedule within the conference? Well,
For me, that's not part of a discussion or a question that I have. That's because that's not where I am. And whatever those rules are for the league in terms of rescheduling games and all that type of stuff, that's really, for me, that's all hypotheticals. Okay. And for me, that's not the best use of my time and my energy.
Just basically whoever they tell you to play, you're ready.
Yeah, because I mean, I can't, all those scenarios and the what ifs and well, maybe this can happen, maybe that can happen. And I mean, right now, I mean, like, how does that help me? How does that help my football team today on a Tuesday when we're getting ready for a Tuesday practice? It doesn't factor in. So this is not in my focus.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. We appreciate your time today.
Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate what you guys do. I hope you have a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy. Go Green.